All right, fire 'em up!
If you're a fan of Spider-Man like me, I got 2 updates from CinemaCon and the theory that's going to get you excited for the upcoming movies. What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Alexander, the voice in the void, the lone wolf, your favorite host with a list. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing good. I'm doing good. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the 2 big updates that came out of CinemaCon that just started on Monday, and both of them have to do with Spider-Man. One from the animated Spider-Verse and one from the live-action movie starring Tom Holland. But before we get started, please, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to subscribe to the channel, and when this video is done, after you're done watching it, like and share and subscribe and give it to every single person you know and get them to watch. Help me grow the channel. But without further ado, let's get started. So as I said, CinemaCon just started on Monday, and coming out of day 1, the 2 biggest pieces of news that I got both have to do with Spider-Man. One with the new Spider-Verse movie and one with the Tom Holland films going into the future. Now, yes, these are both Sony properties. Everything that has to do with Spider-Man is all Sony, but Marvel is going to be handling the live action film starring Tom Holland. So we already know that they can do a good job, especially with the last couple of movies that we've had starring Tom Holland. So everything is going to be on the table, and it looks like this isn't going to be a Spider-Man movie where Tom Holland plays your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man street level. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more attached to the multiverse saga, but I still think it's going to be more of a homegrown film. And when I get into everything that I've learned over the past couple of days, you'll understand what I'm trying to tell you. So first up is the Spider-Verse movie, the next one, which is going to be the last in the trilogy, and it's going to be called Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. Now, we all knew that. Now, unfortunately, it was supposed to come out in 2025, and then they did move it to 2026, but at CinemaCon, they did confirm that the movie will not be out until June 4th, 2027. Now, I know for a fact everybody is thinking, man, that's more than 2 years away, or just about 2 years away from the current date. But trust me, looking at the images that we got out of CinemaCon, I think it's going to be well worth the wait. Take a look at these. Now, when they announced that there was going to be a new type of animation for this last movie in the trilogy, I said, okay, well, what kind of animation are you going to actually do? How new can it possibly be? But looking at these images, if this is what we're going to have, if this is what we're going to get in order and have to wait almost 2 full years to get a full length version of this film, then fine, I can wait. These images look absolutely fantastic. So I cannot wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse to drop finally. From everything that we got at CinemaCon, this is going to be an exciting wrap up to the trilogy. And considering that the first 2 movies made $1.1 billion between the 2, I'm pretty sure they're throwing everything they can behind this last animated film. And I have a feeling it's going to be better than the other 2. So I honestly, like I said, I just cannot wait for this film to come out. Now, on the other side of that coin, we got news on the last, or I should say the new Spider-Man film that's going to star Tom Holland as Spider-Man. The last time we saw him was at the end of the last film, and he was all alone. Everybody has forgotten who he was, or basically forgotten that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Aunt May is dead, and he's basically gone down to becoming the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that Tony had warned and told him that he ought to be, not warned him to be. And we see him basically listening to police scanners, and he has a homemade uniform, and that's kind of what everybody wanted. But from everything that we're seeing now at CinemaCon, that's not what we're going to get, or at least we're not going to get that fully. We're going to get it in part, and Spider-Man is himself going to be a big part of the Secret Wars when they finally get around to doing it after Doomsday. So now the new Spider-Man film is going to be called Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, for anybody who doesn't read comics, this title, Brand New Day, actually is it alludes to a comic book storyline that was actually called Brand New Day. Now, Brand New Day is the one that comes after the storyline called One More Day. Now, in the One More Day storyline, that's the bigger of the 2, but Brand New Day is still big. It's still very important in the Spider-Man lore. So in the One New Day storyline, Peter has to deal with the fallout of unmasking himself from the Civil War storyline in Marvel. Now, in the One More Day storyline, Kingpin has now put a hit out on Peter Parker, and when a hitman tries to kill him, he ducks out of the way of the bullet, but Aunt May gets hit, and she's in the hospital fighting for her life. And he goes to, of all people, Mephisto to make a deal in order to save Aunt May's life. So Mephisto grants him this, but in order to do that, Peter has to give something up. Mephisto says you have to give up your relationship with Mary Jane, and he reluctantly does so in order to save Aunt May. So when he wakes up, the deal is done. Aunt May is alive. She's alive and well, but his relationship with Mary Jane is now poof, gone. And the funny part about that entire deal is the person that approaches Peter in the first place winds up being the very daughter that he would have had with Mary Jane in the future. And she's the one that brought him to Mephisto to do the deal. And unfortunately, if this is the storyline that they're going to adapt, it looks like everybody that wants to see Mephisto in the MCU, you just might get it. And me personally, I don't particularly care, but if that's something you want, then you might get it. A Brand New Day storyline follows that. Now, that is the story that retcons the retcon from One More Day. Now, the fallout from the One More Day storyline in real life is a lot of fans didn't like it because it basically tears Peter and Mary Jane apart. Their wedding basically had never happened. So the writers, Casada, went back and tried to undo the retcon and smooth everything out. He did a really good job. So if you get a chance, read One More Day and read Brand New Day. They're both really good storylines. If this is the storyline that they're going to take, this seems like a good idea because in Brand New Day, what happens is Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, and Reed Richards, they basically create an illusion where everybody forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So the hit that's on him doesn't actually start in the first place, and he can go on with his life. But they still remember who he is. Now in the MCU, the last time we saw Doctor Strange and Peter interacting, that was the same type of spell, but it didn't involve Tony Stark or Reed Richards. But we're going to get Reed Richards in the new Fantastic Four film when it comes out. So it looks like they're going to adapt a lot of what was in One More Day and Brand New Day and the storyline that came after it, One Moment in Time. So if they're going to adapt those three storylines into what's going to happen with Peter going forward, number one, you might get Mephisto, which I don't particularly care about. We may actually get a look at a new Mary Jane, a redheaded Mary Jane. It looks like they're going to take Zendaya out and we're going to have a multiverse version of Mary Jane come into this one. And the only reason I bring that up is because we know in the past couple of weeks that Sadie Sink was hired to be in the new Spider-Man film. And everybody has had their theories about who she's supposed to be. Another redheaded Mary Jane from a different universe. Maybe even a younger Jean Grey or Firestar, all these people. But what if I told you that there's somebody that's in these three storylines that I was just talking about that could be Peter Parker's new love interest that is directly from the comic books? So take a look at this. So in the One More Day storyline, there are three women that Sadie Sink could possibly play. If she's not going to play Mary Jane, and hopefully she's not going to play Gwen Stacy because Gwen Stacy's blonde. So you have Carly Cooper, Lily Hollister, and Jackpot. Now, if you're going to go with a redhead, you kind of have to scratch out Lily Hollister, and the other two would be Carly Cooper and Jackpot. Now, we don't particularly know if Sadie Sink is going to play a villain or a hero. But if I'm casting Sadie Sink, you're going to have her around for a while. So I would cast her as a hero. And honestly, you would probably want to not cast her as a hero, but cast her as a love interest. And that's Carly Cooper. So either one of those two could possibly work. So that leaves who would possibly be the villain. And this goes into the theory that I have. I could see them actually having Mr. Negative show up in this film, in the next Spider-Man film, and be the villain. And if that's the case, then perhaps Sadie Sink would actually be Jackpot, who is a sometimes villain, sometimes hero, and has done both. But maybe she shows up to help Spider-Man deal with Mr. Negative. Mr. Negative is pretty much a street level criminal, and we could have that, and that could lead into the multiverse saga with Spider-Man joining the other heroes on Battleworld. There is a chance that what we're going to see is a street level story that leads into that leads into the multiverse story, and at the end of the multiverse saga and everything spins back, we go back to Spider-Man being a street level hero. That is a very good chance of that happening, especially with everything that we've learned over the last few days from CinemaCon. So you need to cross your fingers that perhaps the villain is Mr. Negative, because if that's the case, then I'm right, and then we will get the true street level Spider-Man that we've been clamoring for quite a while now. If you and another part of that theory is that we've actually seen Mr. Negative be mentioned in a couple of the other in a Sony movie already. He is a villain that has been known to clash with not just Spider-Man, but Punisher, Daredevil, and Shang-Chi and Cloak and Dagger. We've seen all of these characters that he has tangled with in the past, either in film or on TV. Cloak and Dagger did have a show, and if you didn't watch it, you need to. So the fact that Sony hasn't touched him yet, but you have all of the people that he's tangled with at one point or another in the entire time, and they have admitted that they want Mr. Negative on the big screen. I think that's going to be the next villain, and if that's the case, I don't think the Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man that we have now would be strong enough to fight Mr. Negative. He would need some help. So I could see Sadie Sink playing Jackpot, helping him out in this, and then wind up being somebody that Spider-Man has to deal with later on. But that's just a theory that I have. We'll roll back around to it, and we'll figure out if I'm right or wrong. Now, Spider-Man Brand New Day doesn't have a release date. Obviously, they don't have a script or anything else outside of knowing that Sadie Sink is going to be in the film. Zendaya is going to be in the film, I believe. And obviously, Tom Holland Spider-Man is going to be in it. I don't know if Jacob Batalon is going to be in it. I always said that he needs to show back up in the film and become Hobgoblin at some point. But I think they're going to do that later on down the line. Right now, the only thing that we do have production-wise is we do know who the director is. That's Daniel Destin Cretton. He was the man who directed Shang-Chi. He was supposed to direct Avengers 5, the Kang Dynasty, before everything with Jonathan Majors went sideways, and they scrapped that film. But he is going to direct the next Spider-Man film, and I have a feeling they're going to let him direct Secret Wars as well. He is a very good director. He understands all of these Marvel properties, and he's a big-time comic book reader too, so he knows what he's doing. And if I'm not mistaken, he's going to have his fingers in on the script when they write this Spider-Man film, just like he did when they did the Shang-Chi film. So if that be the case, him being the director for the Spider-Man film is going to be a great help. And if he's going to direct the Secret Wars film, that's going to be a great help as well. The only thing that I have in my head that I can't quite figure out just yet for the Tom Holland Spider-Man film is when is it going to be set? What's the time period? We're going to have this one roll into the multiverse saga. They can do one of a couple of things. They can have just a flat street level Spider-Man and do just an after credit scene and have it roll into the multiverse. They can have everything happen in the multiverse and have this being set right before everything happens, or they can do just like they did in the comic book, where Spider-Man is actually in Manhattan. Manhattan itself is a big part of Battle World, and it's just basically a big pick up and port over onto Battle World. So maybe they do that where Spider-Man has to deal with something in that particular part of Battle World just there, and it involves Mr. Negative, and it involves whoever Sadie Sink is going to play. And then they just have it say, well, once he's done with that, then he's out to the rest of Battle World to help the rest of the heroes. We don't particularly know. So whatever timeline they use, it's going to have to make a hell of a lot more sense than the other movies that we've had. And we've seen them jump timelines back and forth. We've seen them jump timelines time and time again. We've seen it with Ant-Man and the Wasp. We've seen it with Guardians of the Galaxy. We even saw it with a couple of the Iron Man films where it's basically moved up into the future, but then it's a backstory, and then everything rolls around, and then it comes together at the end. So whatever happens, I just want the timeline to make sense. I don't want them to be shifting from one thing to another, and then everything gets jumbled and everybody gets tired of it. At this point, I know the vast majority of the audience that watches Marvel movies are sick and tired of the multiverse saga, and they just want it to come to an end and kind of go back to the original ways. But I have to remind people that this is how comic books work. This is how telling stories in comic books work. It is a lot of crossovers, a lot of team ups. There is never just one straight storyline and they never deviate from it. It is always a back and a forth. It is always a ton of other characters coming from other places and team ups and fantasy fights between this character and this one who you thought would never even meet up at one time or another. That's just the nature of comic books and comic book reading. But the multiverse saga is basically, that's what it was trying to give us. All of these team ups and all of these crossovers that you wouldn't necessarily get at any other time for any other reason outside of saying, well, it's a multiverse saga and this person is from this universe and this person's from this universe, and they wind up together in one place to deal with the same problem or go through all of these events together. If that's what you are looking for, you want comic book accuracy, the multiverse saga is comic book accurate. This is just how things work. And I know people are tired of it, but for me, I'm having a ton of fun watching it. I just don't want them to have such big names like Sadie Sink come in and be a one-off character. I think that is just a waste of talent. And even if Kevin Feige has said going forward, they weren't going to do much of that anymore. The people they hire to play characters are going to be characters that stick around for a while, stick around for multiple movies. That's why Tom Holland, when he signed his new contract to play Spider-Man, it's 6 movies. He has a 6-movie deal to play Spider-Man in a partnership between Sony and Marvel going into the future. So we're going to see a little bit more of crossovers between Sony and Marvel, but considering the 3 movies that we've gotten so far with Tom Holland, I think that's going to be just okay. So that's all I got for now with everything Spider-Man that's been going on. I'm keeping my eye on CinemaCon. Any other big news, I will be back with another video, and I will catch you in the next one, and we will end this one the same way we end all of them. God bless, I love you, and peace. See you next time.